Okay, now there's actually an error in my calculation here. I did something much harder than the approximation that would give us this. I actually treated this as if it was a displacement, 400 meter displacement. In 1.8 seconds, it got a different acceleration. Okay, so then I got 250 meters per second squared, which is pretty close to what you'd have if that was a 400 meter displacement, but that's wrong. Okay, so, well, the problem was you go from 0 to 1,000 miles an hour in 1.8 seconds. You want to know how many G's that is. Well, we want to convert this to metric. So at 1,000 miles an hour in metric converts, and we did the conversion, was 400 meters per second. So we go from 0 to 400 meters per second in 1.8 seconds. Well, what kind of acceleration is that? Well, your change in velocity is 400 meters per second, and your change in the clock time is 1.8 seconds, so you divide 1.8 seconds into 400 meters per second. Now, if you divide 2 seconds into 400 meters per second, you get 200 meters per second. But 2 seconds is 10%, about 10% higher, well, at least 10% lower than 2 seconds would be 1.8 seconds. Now, that means that 2 seconds is a little more than 10% greater than 1.8 seconds, so my approximation won't be great, and it'll be pretty good though. So I got 200 meters per second squared using 2 seconds. I'm going to get 10% more than that. Actually, just a little more than 10% more. But I say, okay, it's going to be about 220 meters per second squared. Rounding to the nearest 10 meters per second squared, that's a safe round off. Well, 220 meters per second squared, G is approximately 10 meters per second squared. It's actually 9.8 meters per second squared. So, you know, this is 2% high. But if G was exactly 10 meters per second squared, and if the acceleration was exactly 220 meters per second squared, you'd have exactly 22 G's, 22 times the acceleration of gravity, which is survivable. I think it's up around 50 or so where it starts to not be survivable. Okay, now again, 2% higher than 22 still rounds off to 22. But this is a little higher than 220, so this will be a little higher than 22, so I'll leave it to you to figure out if you use the 9.8 meters per second squared, if it's actually 23 G's, which doesn't really feel all that much different than 22 G's, I don't think. Okay. And it just feels like a jolt, because if it lasts much longer than a jolt, it is going to kill you. Okay, so there's 22 G's. Now there's another problem. We'll take a quick look at that.